The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal a preview clip has been released for the week of March 10, 2025. It shows Alan Laurent proposing to Tracy Abbott. Holden Novak seems to know Claire Grace Newman. Plus, Phyllis Summers seems to have a health crisis, but will it help the captives escape? Keep reading and let's talk about what is coming up in the CBS soap opera. Alan Laurent's proposal. During the week of March 10, fans can expect to see more of Alan and Tracy. The couple has won fans' hearts. Not one person in Genoa City can say anything negative about Alan. Perhaps that's the problem. In any case, Tracy gives a speech to Alan in front of Jack Abbott and presumably an unseen Diane Jenkins Abbott. Tracy tells him that when they are together, she's reminded of what it's like to be truly happy. That is when Alan says if he thought he had a shot, he'd ask her to marry him right now. Wait, was that a marriage proposal? Claire Grace Newman's chance encounter. Over with Claire, she will be at the bar having a strong drink. Claire mentions to herself after one sip that it's really strong. When Claire says to herself maybe James Bond is a little stronger than her, someone interrupts. It's not Kyle Abbott or anyone Claire knows from town. It just happens to be Holden, but does he know Claire? Maybe from her past? Sharon Newman's kidnapping. The Young and the Restless spoilers for next week also show Sharon Newman and Phyllis. The two women are still stuck in captivity but are desperate to escape. Phyllis was going to smash a window and yell for help, but Sharon advises against it. Sharon reasoned that it would just get both of them killed. Phyllis Summers' health crisis. In the preview clip for next week, Phyllis suddenly doubles over and winces in pain. Phyllis really seems to be hurting, and Sharon asks what's wrong. Phyllis says between grunts of pain that she's really nauseous. Is Phyllis being poisoned, and if so, why isn't Sharon also sick? Is Phyllis being punished for breaking the rules, or could this be a clever escape strategy? If the person who is doing this is indeed someone that cares about them, then they won't let Phyllis go without medical attention. Would they? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Jolie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching, so let's dive into today's video. The Young and the Restless scoop for Friday, March 7 reveals Nate Hastings will be suspicious of Audra Charles. Also coming up, Claire Newman will once again ask Victor Newman not to interfere. Plus, Jack Abbott will have an eye-opening conversation with Summer Newman. And Damian Kane will put Holden Novak on blast. I&R spoilers tease Summer will tell Jack she and Kyle have been reconnecting. I care about Kyle, I think I always will, she'll add. Summer will say she's glad that he and Kyle are good again, and Kyle is himself again. It makes it feel like old times. Jack will say it took a lot to free Kyle from Victor's clutches. Summer will say she would not side with her grandpa against him. You don't have to worry about Kyle and me, she'll add. We have the kind of history where nothing can come between us for too long. Y&R Daily Scoop. Victor says she can make up her own mind. At the ranch, Claire will arrive, and she'll have an important question for her grandfather. Is there a chance that you're urging Summer to reconnect with Kyle? Victor will say he doesn't want Kyle to be with either of his granddaughters. He'll add that he's known Kyle since he was a baby and she knows how he feels about the Abbotts. But he'll add that she's a grown woman and can make up her own mind. However, he's made it clear where he stands. Meanwhile, Holden will invite Audra to sit down with him at the coffee shop. He'll ask why she has a wall up with him. Can't we just be friends? Holden will add that Damian's going to spend more time in Genoa City, which means he'll be around a lot as well. Audra will ask what it is between he and Damian. Is he his boss or his friend? Holden will say both, and Audra will tell him it sounds messy. You were on Tucker's payroll, he'll reply. I figure you'd understand. And she'll tell him to watch it. Out on the patio, Kyle and Diane Jenkins will talk about the Abbott Mansion renovation. She'll also offer to babysit Harrison, since he's living at the GTAC for now and Summer has a late meeting. Diane will encourage Kyle to get in touch with Claire and ask her out, so he'll step away. Jack will arrive and Diane will tell him they're on babysitting duty tonight, while Kyle goes out with Claire. Jack will say there's one person who won't be happy about that. He just talked with Summer, and he has a nagging feeling she wants Kyle back. Young and the Restless scoop. Damian has a warning for Holden. Speaking of Kyle, he'll call Claire and ask if she's busy and she'll say no. They'll say that's great, he can't wait to have her all to himself. But Kyle won't realize Summer walked in and overheard his plans. And Victor will hear Claire telling Kyle she can't wait to see him. At the GCHC restaurant, Damian will tell Nate his mother lied to him and Jackson for years. My mother was just sitting on the truth all that time. So Nate will ask when she was supposed to tell him. His mom wanted to protect the love her husband and son had for each other. Now Damian needs to decide how long it'll take to forgive her. Then Audra and Holden will walk in and Nate will introduce her to Damian. She'll say Holden's heading back to LA but doesn't like airport food. So she suggested they have lunch there. Damian will say he has to get going, but he'll ask to talk to Holden first. What the hell are you doing? He'll ask him. Damian will tell him the plan was for Holden to go back to LA and do what needs to be done. This trip isn't an excuse for you to get back with your ex, he'll add. But Holden will say he's handling things from there. Stay away from Audra, he'll say as he heads out. Go back to Los Angeles and do the job I pay you to. Over at Nate and Audra's table, he'll tell her she's in a good mood. Because I got to see you, she'll reply. Then Nate will get a call and say he has to take it. Holden will stroll over and sit down with Audra. He'll tell her he's returning to LA, but he'll be back. He'll ask her to lunch when he returns and she'll agree. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, March 7, imply some major moments as Genoa City heads into the weekend. Someone issues out an ultimatum, while two schemers scheme and a loved one makes a promise. What can fans expect from Friday's show? Time to dive right in. The Mustache's ultimatum. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday's show indicate that Victor Newman will issue an ultimatum where Claire Newman is concerned. This is probably about Kyle Abbott, so he suggests the young lady choose between her new romance and him. What will Claire decide to do? Audra Charles's new scheme. Across town, it looks like old friends Audra Charles and Holden Novak will connect to come up with a new scheme. What could this be about? Audra is still unemployed and desperately looking for a job, so will she hope that he can help her out? After all, Holden is pretty chummy with Damian Kane, so perhaps she asks him to put in a good word for her. He still seems smitten with Audra, so he'd likely jump at the opportunity to work with her again, right? Jack Abbott's vow. Lastly, as Summer Newman continues to worry about her missing mother, Jack Abbott will swing in and make her a promise. These two are close for many reasons. Not only because she was once married to his son Kyle and is the mother of his grandson, Harrison Abbott, but there was also a time when Jack believed that he was Summer's father. Not to mention the fact that he was her stepfather at one point and helped deliver her into this world. Jack will probably make a vow to Summer that he'll help her find Phyllis Summers. Jack has the power and resources, so he'll assure the young woman that he'll do everything he can to help locate her mom. The Young and the Restless preview for the week of March 10 reveals Alan Laurent will take Tracy Abbott by surprise. My and our spoilers tease Phyllis and Sharon will still be stuck in the hellish, dingy basement and obviously forced to continue whatever warped game their captor is playing. I and our preview. Holden doubts James Bond is tougher than Claire. However, things will take a rather dangerous turn next week. Phyllis will bend over in pain, holding her stomach. Sharon will panic and ask Phyllis what's wrong. I'm so nauseous, she'll reply. Meanwhile, Claire, who doesn't usually drink alcohol, will take a sip of a martini at the GCAC bar. That's strong, she'll say to herself. I guess James Bond is a little tougher than me. Somehow, I doubt that, Holden will tell Claire as he walks up and sits beside her at the bar. So, is Kyle Abbott about to have some serious competition for Claire's affections? Young and the Restless preview. Alan makes Tracy completely happy. Finally, Tracy and Alan will go out to dinner with Jack Abbott and Diane Jenkins. When I look at you, I am reminded of what it really feels like to be completely happy, Tracy will tell her boyfriend. If I thought I had a shot, Ellen will reply, I'd ask you to marry me right now. But will Tracy tell him he should take that shot? The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, March 7 tease that Audra Charles is up to her old tricks, Victor Newman expects disaster, and Jack Abathes a promise for Summer Newman. Claire Newman wants Grandpa Victor to back off her relationship with Kyle Abbott. Claire could get huffy and ask Victor if he actually prefers Summer with Kyle. Victor does, but he may be wise not to tell Claire that. After all, Spy'll have a child together, and Victor wants better for Claire. Is Kyle and Summer's reunion on the horizon? As far as Victor is concerned, Claire and Kyle are not right for each other, and Victor has the temerity to give her an ultimatum. We can't see Claire being awkward with this. She is headstrong, and her romance with Kyle is her first, so she has a lot invested in him. Summer and Jack confab. Elsewhere, Summer talks to Jack, who is well aware of Spy'l's history, and he has his own opinions about his son's dating life. Jack considers Summer a part of the Abbott family, since Harrison Abbott is her son. He reassures her that nothing will ever change that. Jack makes a promise to Summer on Friday's episode, but will it help ease her troubled mind? It won't, because she is jealous of Claire and wants to be back with her true love. Audra and Holden go at it. Meanwhile, Audra and Holden Novak have another talk and need to get on the same page about their past. She has told her so Nate Hastings about their past connection, but didn't tell the whole truth. Audra and Holden were more than a fling, but she doesn't want Nate to know about that. Why not? Because the truth will eventually come out and do more damage. Their past isn't the only thing they have to discuss. Holden and Audra talk about the fraught situation between Damian Kane and Amy Lewis, as well as Nate. Holden seems to be willing to play along with Audra as a co-conspirator, but he has a hidden agenda. What he wants is simply to spend more time with Audra, so look for him to be eager to problem-solve the tense family relationships. At the same time, Audra continues to hide things from Nate. Is she on a slow burn with Holden, and will Nate have his heart broken just as he tries to do right by Damian and Amy? You know what they say, no good deed goes unpunished. The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates tease mystery man Aristotle Dumas may replace two longtime tycoons in Genoa City their social positions. Will the new Mr. Big replace both Djibout's Jack Abbott and Victor Newman and take both their places? It had to happen eventually. The moment was inevitable. The show needed to unveil a character with the power and charm to take the reins from Victor and Jack, the reigning titans of Genoa City. If the narrative simply lingered in the same old patterns, we would be stuck in a monotonous cycle of their relentless rivalry. Thus, it's with great anticipation that we await the arrival of Aristotle Dumas. You may have already heard of him, and if you follow us, you've likely read about him as well. He doesn't appear to be your typical entrepreneur. Instead, he seems poised to leave a far more significant mark than someone like Tucker McCall. Tucker, who, despite his grand schemes upon returning to Genoa City, never truly brought any of them to fruition. Aristotle might be a very eligible bachelor turning women's heads. It wouldn't be surprising if Aristotle chose to rise above the fray when it comes to Victor and Jack. Picture him, so affluent and powerful, casually dismissing their offers with a wave of his hand, saying, "No thanks, I've got 204 companies of my own." Just imagine how that would rattle Victor. The arrival of Aristotle promises to inject a fresh dynamism into the scene, offering the women of Genoa City, hallelujah, a new romantic prospect beyond their former flames. While many expect Sharon Newman to reunite with Nick Newman, if Aristotle takes an interest in her, could that reunion be as certain as everyone thinks? Will Aristotle steal away Victoria and Phyllis too? Maybe even Nikki and Diane? We think Phyllis Summers and her ex Billy Abbott might get back together, especially after her Valentine's Day dream. This could create some interesting tension, as Phyllis faces a tempting choice, but what if Aristotle turns her head? It might also help Victoria Newman realize that her connection with Cole Howard isn't as strong as what she could have with Billy, but how about Aristotle? Plus, Victor and Jack will still be in the spotlight, but they'll have to accept that they're not the only major players anymore. Aristotle might even catch Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, and Diane Abbott's attention just to stir things up. The Young and the Restless is mourning the sad loss of one of their former cast members. Pamela Bach, the 62-year-old actress and ex-wife of Baywatch star David Hasselhoff, was known to daytime fans as the original Mary Jo Mason in the mid-1990s. The news of her passing was first reported by Tims, which revealed that she died by suicide on March 5 after family members asked law enforcement officials to do a wellness check. She reportedly died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound and did not leave a note behind. Hasselhoff confirmed the news to the media outlet and shared a statement. "Our family is deeply saddened by the recent passing of Pamela Hasselhoff," the statement read. "We are grateful for the outpouring of love and support during this difficult time, but we kindly request privacy as we grieve and navigate through this challenging time." Born and raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Bach got her start in the entertainment industry as a model at the age of 14. Her career took her to New York first, where the 18-year-old worked as a shoe and sweater model. "I was on a lot of yarn labels wearing a sweater," she told the Los Angeles Times in 1995. She made her feature film debut in 1983 in Francis Ford Coppola's Rumble Fish, and then continued her pursuit in the arts at Northeastern Oklahoma A&M College for 2 years, before moving to Los Angeles in 1985. She had immediate success, landing roles on T.J. Hooker, Cheers, and The Fall Guy, but it was her one-episode gig at Betty on Knight Rider that led her to Hasselhoff, both on and off screen. They married in 1989 and started their family a year later with the birth of their first daughter, Taylor Ann, 34. 2 years later, daughter Haley, 32, arrived, and Bach continued her acting career with roles in The Young and the Restless, Baywatch, and Baywatch Nights. Coincidentally, the exes both spent time in Genoa City. Hasselhoff stepped into the role of Dr. Snapper Foster between 1975 and 1982, while Bach created the role of Mary Jo, eventually being replaced by Deanna Barton. Bach is of no relation to Catherine Bach, who played a recurring role as Anita Lawson from 2012 to 2019. Bach's daughters have remained silent about the loss of their mother, but Haley shared an image of her parents at the opening of Jurassic Park. The ride on June 15, 1996, in her Instagram story, along with a white heart. Bach looked glowingly happy with a big smile on her face. The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that some wedding crasher chaos could be ahead in Genoa City. Will someone derail Tracy Abbott and Alan Lawrence's big day? I&R's preview video for the week of March 10 to 14 hints that marriage may be on the horizon for Alan and Tracy. Since these two have fallen so hard for each other, it makes sense for them to tie the knot and live happily ever after, at least as long as happily ever after lasts on a soap. Of course, weddings don't always go off without a hitch in GC. Could Tracy and Alan's nuptials come with a surprise interruption and perhaps bring an uninvited guest? There are some good options to consider depending on how soapy Y&R wants to get here. Martin Laurent is believed to be deceased following his balcony tumble in France, but people have managed to survive worse on the CBS soap. It would definitely be an interesting twist if Martin somehow came back from the grave and tried to ruin his twin brother's happiness. After the way Ian Ward was revealed to be alive in that ambulance, anything can happen. There's nothing too far-fetched in Genoa City, so no one can rule out Martin's survival too. There was a time when Y&R offered hints about Martin potentially being alive and duping Tracy with an Allen act. Since then, the show seems to have dropped that potential angle, though it could come back around. Even if one twin really is gone for good, is there still a chance Tracy's been falling for the wrong guy? If Martin took over Alan's life again, his true identity might get exposed at the wedding. However, we should consider other paths to juicy wedding day drama. Ashley Abbott's altars may not be gone permanently, so what if one of them resurfaces for a shocker at the nuptials? Even Tucker McCall might be an option since his name has come up so much recently. Whether Street John reprises the role or a recast takes over, we could imagine Tucker crashing another Abbott family event. Whatever the case, we're certainly rooting for Tracy to get the bliss she deserves, but it's wise to expect the unexpected when it comes to soap weddings. Our predictions suggest that Alan, Tracy, and their guests could possibly face some surprises. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Alan and Tracy will gear up for their next chapter, so we'll bring you updates on any stunning news ahead. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Lily Winters has been investigating Nate Hastings' half-brother, Damian Kane. Of course, Nate blew a gasket when he found this information out because he doesn't to scare Damian away. However, this does make one wonder how Damian is obtaining these companies with no money. Is Damian a corporate raider or working for one? Damian runs 2 companies, but he is working for someone else. It is obvious that Damian doesn't have the money to buy these. Victor Newman has already found out who Damian is working with. This is a huge concern for Devon, because with Damian staying in town, he may have his sights on Winters. Devon has worked very hard to get Winters and has no intention of allowing anyone to take it away from him. Damian is showing a great deal of attention to Lily too, and this also worries Devon. Is Damian interested in his sister or just using her to get information on the company? With Victor Newman looking into him, it is hard to say what could happen. Victor Newman could be stirring up a mess. Victor's investigation could alert Damian's partner to Winters, enticing him to come after them. It seems that Damian's backer has been in the corporate world for some time and had nothing better to do than buy up companies when he can get his hands on them. Winters is not for sale, and frankly, Devon doesn't want either of them involved. Perhaps Victor will be seen as a threat and Damian will go after Newman Enterprises instead. How funny would it be if these are the people that Billy Abbott has been getting his information from? Could Billy actually be a part of taking over Newman if Damian can pull this off? Surely Newman is a much bigger fish than Winters is at this point. Billy Abbott is working with someone behind the scenes. Billy is working with someone that he doesn't want Phyllis or Sally Spectra to find out who. While Devon is worried about Winters, perhaps Billy can slide right in with Damian and their backer and take over Newman Enterprises before Victor knows what hit him. Would that not be the ultimate revenge? Damian is obviously up to something, and he is making a few people nervous with his presence. However, Nate is convinced that Damian is reconnecting with his mother and nothing more. Is Damian staying because he is interested in Lily as well, or does he have something else going on? Damian seems to be very sneaky. What surprises has he brought with him? The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that Pamela Bach is dead at 62. The Lie&R alum, who was also David Hasselhoff's ex-wife, was found deceased in her Hollywood Hills home on March 5. According to the Los Angeles Medical Examiner's Office, Bach's death has been ruled a suicide. Ultimatums shared some additional details on the authorities checking Bach's residence after her family didn't hear from her and expressed concern. Bach died of a self-inflicted shot to the head, but she didn't leave a note behind. This loss certainly sad news for Bach's loved ones as well as the soap world. Many fans still remember Bach from her run as Mary Jo Mason, who made her Genoa City debut back in 1994 before Deanna Barton took over the role. Bach was also married to Y&R alum David Hasselhoff, who played Snapper Foster from 1975 to 1982. Hasselhoff and Bach first met when she was a guest star on the set of Knight Rider, which led to their eventual marriage in 1989. Bach later joined Hasselhoff in starring on Baywatch, which was obviously a memorable project for them both. Hasselhoff and Bach had 2 daughters named Haley and Taylor before ultimately getting a divorce in 2006. The cause of that divorce was listed as irreconcilable differences. In addition to Pamela Bach's roles on Y&R and Baywatch, you might have seen her in other various film and television projects over the years. Bach was featured on Cheers, The Fall Guy, Superboy, Sirens, Viper, and more. In a statement released to the press, David Hasselhoff shared that his family is deeply saddened by the recent passing of Pamela and requested privacy as they cope. We are grateful for the outpouring of love and support during this difficult time, but we kindly request privacy as we grieve and navigate through this challenging time, Hasselhoff said. We'll pass along updates if any other important news comes to light. Our hearts go out to Bach's friends and family members as they deal with this devastating loss. As for what's ahead in GC, The Young and the Restless spoilers say several storylines will come with twists and turns in the coming weeks, so stick with us for more predictions on all the drama. We'll have all the hot Young and the Restless spoilers, predictions, updates, and news you need, so make us your one-stop source. The Young and the Restless scoop for Friday, March 7 reveals Nate Hastings will be suspicious of Audra Charles. Y&R spoilers tease Summer will tell Jack she and Kyle have been reconnecting. I care about Kyle, I think I always will, she'll add. Summer will say she's glad that he and Kyle are good again and Kyle is himself again. It makes it feel like old times. Jack will say it took a lot to free Kyle from Victor's clutches. Summer will say she would not side with her grandpa against him. You don't have to worry about Kyle and me, she'll add. We have the kind of history where nothing can come between us for too long. Y&R Daily Scoop. Victor says she can make up her own mind. At the ranch, Claire will arrive, and she'll have an important question for her grandfather. Is there a chance that you're urging Summer to reconnect with Kyle? Victor will say he doesn't want Kyle to be with either of his granddaughters. He'll add that he's known Kyle since he was a baby, and she knows how he feels about the Abbotts. But he'll add that she's a grown woman and can make up her own mind. However, he's made it clear where he stands. Meanwhile, Holden will invite Audra to sit down with him at the coffee shop. He'll ask why she has a wall up with him. Can't we just be friends? Holden will add that Damian's going to spend more time in Genoa City, which means he'll be around a lot as well. Audra will ask what it is between he and Damian. Is he his boss or his friend? Holden will say both and Audra will tell him it sounds messy. You were on Tucker's payroll, he'll reply. I figure you'd understand. And she'll tell him to watch it. Out on the patio, Kyle and Diane Jenkins will talk about the Abbott mansion renovation. She'll also offer to babysit Harrison, since he's living at the GCAC for now and Summer has a late meeting. Diane will encourage Kyle to get in touch with Claire and ask her out, so he'll step away. Jack will arrive and Diane will tell him they're on babysitting duty tonight, while Kyle goes out with Claire. Jack will say there's one person who won't be happy about that. He just talked with Summer, and he has a nagging feeling she wants Kyle back. Young and the Restless scoop. Damian has a warning for Holden. Speaking of Kyle, he'll call Claire and ask if she's busy, and she'll say no. He'll say that's great, he can't wait to have her all to himself. But Kyle won't realize Summer walked in and overheard his plans, and Victor will hear Claire telling Kyle she can't wait to see him. At the GCAC restaurant, Damian will tell Nate his mother lied to him and Jackson for years. My mother was just sitting on the truth all that time. So Nate will ask when she was supposed to tell him. His mom wanted to protect the love her husband and son had for each other. Now Damian needs to decide how long it'll take to forgive her. Then Audra and Holden will walk in, and Nate will introduce her to Damian. She'll say Holden's heading back to LA but doesn't like airport food, so she suggested they have lunch there. Damian will say he has to get going, but he'll ask to talk to Holden first. "What the hell are you doing?" he'll ask him. Damian will tell him the plan was for Holden to go back to LA and do what needs to be done. "This trip isn't an excuse for you to get back with your ex," he'll add. But Holden will say he's handling things from there. "Stay away from Audra," he'll say as he heads out. "Go back to Los Angeles and do the job I pay you to." Over at Nate and Audra's table, he'll tell her she's in a good mood. "Because I got to see you," she'll reply. Then Nate will get a call and say he has to take it. Holden will stroll over and sit down with Audra. He'll tell her he's returning to LA, but he'll be back. He'll ask her to lunch when he returns and she'll agree. Finally, Nate will come back to the table. Holden will leave and Nate will sit down, with a frown on his face. "Okay, so what's really going on with you two?" he'll ask Audra. The Young and the Restless spoilers indicate that both Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers' families are worried sick about them. Considering that Jordan Howard and Ian Ward supposedly just died, it seems they would come to mind first as a culprit. Why is no one verifying that both Jordan and Ian are dead? People tend to come back from the dead in Genoa City. It isn't exactly a strange thing for people to come back from the dead in Genoa City. Phyllis did it herself not too long ago. With both Phyllis and Sharon missing, it would certainly be worth looking into just to be sure Ian and Jordan are gone. Of course, fans know that Ian's eyes popped open on the ambulance ride to the morgue. It is very unlikely that Ian actually made it to the morgue. Ian probably managed to disappear from the ambulance or even overtake the drivers. Isn't it about time that someone from the ambulance company informed the Newmans of Ian's body disappearing? Does no one realize just how dangerous this man is? Ian Ward is out for revenge. Ian has been out for revenge for years, and the Newmans are sitting ducks in this situation. Victor Newman has already gotten shot saving Nikki Newman. The Newmans should be the first person to suspect that Ian could still be alive. If Ian is behind this kidnapping, he could pick the Newmans off like sitting ducks. Is Ian the one behind this kidnapping? Ian was in prison for several years, but he could know about things that went down between Sharon and Phyllis as well. Who else would have Phyllis and Sharon playing this game for their lives? Will someone finally check the morgue to find out about Ian's disappearance before it is too late? Claire Newman is in just as much danger. Everyone went with the story that Jordan killed herself, which technically that may be true. Unfortunately, Claire is the one who fixed that tea that Jordan drank. If Ian has any inkling that Claire is responsible for Jordan's death, she will be his next target. Could Kyle Abbott be the one to save Claire from Ian's attack? Claire could think this would finally prove to Victor how good Kyle is and how much he cares about her. It isn't likely that Victor will see eye to eye with her on this. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that 3 major secrets will leak, so some big revelations will stun Genoa City in the coming weeks. Let's talk about shockers that are still to come on the CBS soap. 1. Sharon and Phyllis kidnapper exposed. For starters, Sharon Newman and Phyllis Summers' kidnapper will finally be exposed. Phyllis and Sharon have been trapped in an old psychiatric facility where they've reluctantly joined forces to play a strange game. Sharon and Phyllis' captor knows their history and seemingly wants them to work together, so they've wondered if a friend or family member might be doing all this. Michael Baldwin could be a good kidnapper option, but nothing's set in stone just yet. Phyllis and Sharon have also considered the possibility that the person to blame knows and hates them, so there's a chance someone surprising will be revealed as the kidnapper instead. 2. Audra and Holden's deeper history unravels. It's clear that Audra Charles and Holden Novak have a deeper history than Nate Hastings realizes. Audra hasn't told Nate about the intensity of her past relationship with Holden, and it seems like she's leaving some other things out too. Although Audra admitted Holden came to her rescue against some sleazy music execs, it seems like there was more to the story. Audra also hinted about Holden living on the edge and scaring her during their former romance, so there's a lot more to unpack when it comes to these two. What exactly went down back in Los Angeles? My and R will no doubt reveal some other stunning details as the storyline moves along. 3. Aristotle Dumas' face and motives revealed. There's been a lot of talk about Aristotle Dumas and what an enigma he is. Aristotle has gone to great lengths to keep a low profile, including letting Damian Kane masquerade as the owner of a couple companies owned by Aristotle himself. Damian is being cagey about his connection to Aristotle, so Y&R will have to reveal how they met and why things are so shady. Aristotle could become a new baddie on canvas once he finally shows his face and reveals his true motives. In the aftermath of a harrowing escape that sent shockwaves through Genoa City, the tale of Phyllis and Sharon's narrow flight from captivity became the subject of hushed whispers and anxious speculation. The two women, having managed to break free from their confinement, a prison both literal and metaphorical, returned home in a state of palpable panic. Their eyes, wide with fear and uncertainty, spoke of horrors too dark to fully articulate. Every step they took was a desperate attempt to reclaim the safety of familiarity. Almost immediately upon her return, Phyllis, still reeling from the ordeal, sought out Michael. Her voice, trembling with a mix of indignation and betrayal, demanded answers. "Why did you kidnap us?" she asked, her words slicing through the tense silence like a razor's edge. Phyllis was not one to leap to conclusions without careful observation. Her instincts had rarely failed her, and on that fateful day, something in Michael's tone, an unfamiliar cadence, a subtle shift in the inflection of his voice, had told her something was profoundly wrong. This deviation from the norm was unacceptable to Phyllis, igniting a fire of resentment that would not be easily extinguished. Meanwhile, Nick listened intently, his mind churning with questions. Why would Michael, a man known for his resourcefulness and enigmatic nature, stoop to such desperate measures? Was this a calculated move, an attempt to control the narrative, or was there something else entirely at play? Nick's own inner turmoil was compounded by the realization that Phyllis's instincts were rarely mistaken. If she sensed deceit in Michael's voice, there had to be a hidden motive lurking beneath his composed exterior. Across the room, Chance had been an unwitting witness to the entire unfolding drama. Known for his keen analytical mind and uncanny ability to read between the lines, he harbored his own theories. The weight of what he had heard and seen compelled him to take action. Without hesitation, Chance marched over to Michael, his resolve hardening with every step. In a dramatic display of authority, he swiftly handcuffed Michael and dragged him back to the very room that had once served as a prison for Phyllis and Sharon. Now that dark and ominous space became the setting for an impromptu interrogation, one that promised to unearth secrets long buried beneath layers of subterfuge. But Michael was a man of considerable fortitude, and more importantly, a man who had mastered the art of silence. Locked away in the cold confines of the cell, he maintained a steely gaze, his posture unyielding. His lips remained sealed, his eyes conveying nothing more than a subtle challenge. Unless Phyllis could present incontrovertible evidence of wrongdoing, he would not betray a single secret. His silence was not born of guilt, but of a calculated strategy, one that had served him well in the past, and he hoped would serve him now. While turmoil engulfed the house, Victor stood at a distance, his presence both commanding and unnerving. Watching every twist of the drama with a practiced detachment, he masked his emotions well. But beneath that calm exterior lay a seething torrent of fear and self-preservation. Victor knew the truth. The real mastermind behind this chaos was none other than himself. His hands had guided many of the clandestine operations within the family, and his machinations had set the stage for this catastrophic turn of events. Yet, as he observed, a deep-seated terror gripped him. If the truth of his orchestration were to come to light, there would be no escaping the consequences. The possibility of exposure loomed over him like a dark cloud, forcing him to maintain outward silence and feign indifference. In that moment, the delicate balance between loyalty, betrayal, and the desperate quest for power teetered on a knife's edge. As the night wore on, the tension in the house became almost tangible. The holding cell, now a crucible for truths waiting to be exposed, pulsed with silent accusations. Michael's unwavering silence, interspersed with occasional measured glances, became a testament to his inner strength. He had weathered storms of scandal and heartbreak before, and now, faced with the onslaught of distrust, he refused to be broken. Phyllis, her heart a battleground of hurt and disillusionment, clung to the belief that her intuition was infallible. She recounted every detail, the subtle tremor in Michael's voice, the slight pause before he answered, the coldness that had replaced the warmth she once knew. Each detail was a puzzle piece in a larger mosaic of betrayal, one she was determined to complete, even if it meant uncovering painful truths. Chance, unwilling to rely on mere gut feelings, saw a larger conspiracy at play. To him, Michael's role was just one part of a more intricate puzzle. How could someone orchestrate such an elaborate kidnapping without leaving a trace of remorse or hesitation? His determination to extract a confession from Michael was about more than just solving the mystery. It was about restoring order in a world that had descended into chaos. And then there was Nick, caught in the crossfire of conflicting loyalties. He didn't want to assign blame lightly, but he needed to understand the intricate web of relationships that defined their existence. Every word spoken, every glance exchanged, every moment of silence added another layer to the complex narrative unfolding before him. As dawn crept over the horizon, casting a pale light on the remnants of the night's chaos, the household was left with more questions than answers. Michael remained in the holding cell, his secrets locked behind a facade of calm determination. Phyllis, her heart heavy with the weight of her discoveries, grappled with a betrayal that had shattered her world. Chance's mind raced with possibilities of a conspiracy extending far beyond this single incident, while Nick pondered the true motivations behind Michael's actions. And Victor, ever the silent puppeteer, watched it all with a mixture of relief and dread. Relief that the immediate crisis had passed, and dread that the revelation of his own culpability might one day come crashing down upon him. In that fragile moment of uneasy calm, the stage was set for a confrontation that would redefine loyalties and redraw the lines of trust within the family. The secrets that had long been buried were clawing their way to the surface, threatening to expose a legacy built on ambition, betrayal, and the relentless pursuit of power. For all those involved, one thing was clear: the path to redemption and resolution would be long and fraught with peril, and only by facing the truth could they hope to rebuild what had been so callously torn apart.